I paid for the premium expansion for Forza Horizon 5 so I could get early access to the game. Now, has it been as good as everybody says? Let's find out. Hey, I'm Sam with Busy Dad Gaming. I help busy dads figure out what Xbox games to play so they can relax and go back to their families recharged. I've sucked at racing games for as long as I can remember, and I still remember as a kid, before I got a PS1, I was still rocking an N64 at the time. I'd call my friend, like on an actual phone that was attached to a wall, and see if they were home. I'd walk down the block and I'd go ahead and I'd knock on his door, and his mom usually would answer, or sometimes his sister, and be like, yeah, he's down in his room. We'd spend all day playing video games on that PS1. We'd play things like Twisted Metal, Driver, Legacy of Kain, which I really still hope they make a remake of, Metal Gear Solid, and Gran Turismo. I remember playing Gran Turismo on the PS1 and thinking, man, this game is awesome. It's such a cool game, and even more so when Gran Turismo 2 came out. Those were some amazing times, but over time, I feel that the Forza franchise has really taken up that mantle when it comes to showing what a console can really do and what a racing game can really show. Now, if you've seen any of the reviews for Forza Horizon 5, it's getting 10 out of 10s, it's getting 5 out of 5s, it's showing perfect scores, and on Metacritic, it's one of the highest rated games in 2021. Reviews and critics overall are stating that this is one of the best games of the year, and if you want to find out more about some of those reviews that are going more in depth, I definitely encourage you to go and seek those out. You come here because you want a busy dad's perspective and to know whether or not this game is actually worth your time. So, is it? Now, as a caveat, I only have around 5 hours of time with this game, so these are my initial impressions, so take them with a grain of salt. Overall, I am really enjoying this game, and what's even better is that it allows you to spend as much or as little time as you want in the game world. So, for example, if you're going and you drive somewhere in the open world relatively close and then you go ahead and do a race, you can usually get that done within 10 to 15 minutes depending on what kind of race you're going into. Or you can drive around the open world, you can go to all these different areas, you can do some challenges and spend way more time in the game world. So overall, the game really does allow you to spend as much or as little time as you really want in the game. Now, outside of being able to spend as much or as little time as you want in the game, is the game actually fun? Because that's ultimately what really matters. And to put it bluntly, for me personally, yes, very. Now, I suck at racing games, and I'm sure you've already probably seen some video of me crashing or rewinding or smashing into other cars or not making a turn. I'm sure I've already screwed up multiple times by this point in the video, but what really does matter is if you're having fun with the game. Now, the game itself is absolutely beautiful. It is one of the best looking games I've seen, and that's on the Series X. I haven't even been able to play it on the PC yet, and the PC I hear is even better looking, so I'm really looking forward to that. But overall, I am thoroughly enjoying my time with this game, and I'm really glad I purchased the premium package so I could get early access to it. Now, granted, it's not all rainbows and unicorns. Forza Horizon 5 does have its challenges just like any game does. The character models, for example, are laughably bad. They look, like early last gen bad. Now, granted, you're not really meant to spend too much time with them. The real spectacle is the cars and the environment and the open world, but you do end up seeing your character model quite a bit, so it is kind of bad, laughably bad that you get to see him that often. Another thing that I think would have been just more cool is that there would have been more model destruction. Now, it does have some to a certain degree. You can see, scrapes and scratches on the car. You can see windows start to crack. I haven't completely tried to beat up the car totally yet, so we'll see what happens there. But to this point, I haven't seen really a lot of model destruction, and that's something that was just kind of a nitpick I would have liked to see more of, but what can you do? Now, there are bugs within the game, and I think that goes without saying at this point, and there are some instances where the bugs are more like audio issues or you get stuck doing something. They're very trivial for the most part, but for the most part, I haven't really ran into too many bugs. Now, coming at this from a dad's perspective, ultimately, Forza Horizon 5 is coming out on November 9th on Game Pass, and if you purchase the premium edition, then it's coming out on November 5th, which is you already be able to play it right now. Now, I do encourage you to give it a shot, especially if it's coming out on Game Pass. As I mentioned, I do suck at racing games, but I still find enjoyment, and especially in this particular game where it's very pretty, the controls are tight, and the game is just overall fun to play. It's also a game where you can jump in and spend as much time or as little time as you really want, and the game values your time. And for that, I greatly appreciate it. Now, again, as I mentioned, I'm only 5 hours in, so there's a lot more time to invest in this to really get a good handle on how much fun and how good the game really is. But I'm going to wrap this up and dive right back into the game. So make sure to check out the playlist going over which console is going to make the most sense for you, and I'll see you out there. I'm out of coffee. Any coffee stat?